How have the greenhouse gas concentrations changed over time? In this graph, we can see three major greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere over the last 2,000 years. These gases, such as carbon dioxide, were once under 300 parts per million, and methane and nitrous oxides were under 300 parts per billion. If you look closer to the left side, you can see that carbon dioxide is parts per million and nitrous oxide and methane are only parts per billion. This means there is way more carbon dioxide than nitrous oxide and methane. We can see there is a natural increase and decrease in the three gases. The Industrial Revolution started in 1800, and that's when we began to see an increase in greenhouse gases. As we look closer into carbon dioxide levels, we can see that it has increased much faster than the other greenhouse gases, mainly because of human activity. Here's another graph showing how carbon dioxide concentrations fluctuate naturally. But as humans burn fossil fuels, this natural process has sped up. The things we do every day contribute to this rise, including population growth, deforestation, and the 21st century lifestyle. Our population growth has caused a greater demand in products. These products come from factories located in other parts of the world. These factories burn fossil fuels to make the products, causing fossil fuels to be used up in greater amounts. Fossil fuels run our daily lives from the start of the day when we turn on the lights to the night when we turn them off. Fossil fuels work to heat our homes and fuel our cars. To grow our food, we use pesticides and fertilizers. Ruminant animals on farms produce methane when they belch. Also, boats, trucks, and other types of transport use fossil fuels to bring goods to us. As our population grows, we build more homes cutting down trees, known as deforestation. The problem with this method is when a tree is cut down and decays, it releases any carbon dioxide it has stored. More emissions are causing ice to melt, especially in the Arctic.
Different viewpoints on climate change. First viewpoint. People say the data is being messed with to show numbers that are out of the ordinary compared to last year's data that was gathered. For example, Christopher Booker. He's an English journalist, author, and has been a columnist for the Sunday Telegraph since 1990. This is what Christopher Booker said in one of his articles. The fiddling with temperature data is the biggest scandal ever. When future generations look back on the global warming scare of the past 30 years, nothing will shock them more than the extent to which the official temperature records were systematically adjusted to show the Earth as having warmed much more than the actual data justified. I will have to disagree with Booker because he's nowhere near an expert on climate change. All of the articles he has written on the Sunday Telegraph are opinions he has towards these scientists or researchers' findings on climate change. Global warming is not a scandal, nor is temperature data. What I have gathered from responses to Booker's articles is that the scientists who supposedly fiddled with the temperature data to show a drastic increase in warming did not do so on purpose. For instance, Dr. Plate, a PhD in astronomy, argues in his article, No, adjusting temperature measurements is not a scandal, that the way these scientists measure the temperature was with a thermometer. There will always be factors that can cause an impact on temperature in a thermometer. For example, if the thermometer receives direct sunlight, then the thermometer will show high temperature. Another example is the opposite of direct sunlight, such as cloudiness. Without much sunlight, there is no temperature change. I believe these scientists are honest in what they do and that global warming is not a scandal. There's ample evidence that it has been happening for many years, and it is likely that it will keep happening for many more years to come. Instead of believing the naysayers, we should look more closely at the backgrounds and interests of these scientists. Second viewpoint. One other thing some people say is that warming is not something we should be worried about, but ice ages are. For example, Dr. S. Fretzinger. Dr. S. Fretzinger has a PhD in physics. He also spoke for the Harlan Institute, a well-known organization that was founded in Chicago in 1984. Singer said in one of his speeches, Warming's not serious. We can't stand warming. Ice ages are serious. Major ones come in every 100,000 years, controlled by astronomical factors. Not much we can do about those. I will have to agree and disagree with this quote because warming is going to happen, and in future years it can drastically increase. A 1 degree change can really affect us here in the US because we're so used to hot weather, but in other parts of the world, for example in the Arctic, a 1 degree increment can affect the temperature of the ice, therefore melting it. We do have to worry about warming because it can start to happen now, but ice ages just happen naturally, but not for about 100,000 years. The third viewpoint I'd like to present to you is it is unfair for rich countries to tell poor countries to not build coal plants because we did it. Third viewpoint is Lord Christopher Monckton. Monckton's educational background in journalism. Monckton stated in one of his speeches, "The nastiest consequence of the global warming scam is not the further enrichment of the rich, it is a further impoverishment and oppression of the poor. This is especially true in Africa, where the population has very little access to electric power. We say Africans can't have the coal-fired power that we have had, because it will destroy the planet even though it won't." I agree that the global warming has made the rich richer and ignored the poor. The US made lots of money back when coal-fired plants were being produced. Now they are trying to get rid of it. Africa wants to build these coal-fired plants, but the US says no because it will destroy our planet. I disagree with the fact that coal-fired plants won't destroy our planet because the emissions given off into the atmosphere are dangerous. I think the US is selfish to deny help to Africa. As a wealthy country, the US is able to help other cities or countries with having necessary resources and reducing poverty. Since the US have slowly been starting changing to renewable energy, we can apply the same technology overseas to help economic development in impoverished countries. We should stop being selfish and help for the better so poverty will reduce as well as global warming. It's important to know what is happening in our environment and planet before it's too late. Helping each other out can make a dramatic difference in our overall global health.